All right, it's 9 o'clock, and this is the the February 14th meeting of the Escambia Children's Trust Board of Directors, but we're going to ask for a motion to recess because we do not have quorum yet.
Move to recess.
Okay, all right.
Second?
We can't really vote on it if we don't have
No,
quorum, so we're
'cause we
just
don't have
going
a
to
quorum.
wait
Quorum.
until we have quorum.
Okay. Yeah, that's
We could
the
do public
issue is we've got,
comments.
we can postpone the,
Can we do public comments?
sure, if you got some,
Well, that's in the second part. We have to finish the first. We're on recess until we have quorum, because we don't have quorum yet,
we need one more.
for those who are here. But if anyone would like to speak on the agenda for for the first agenda item, which is the approval of the election of the officers, we could do public comment on that agenda only. Okay, there's no one. And if anyone wants to speak today at the meetings, at either meeting, the public comment forms are up front. We thank you for coming and being here. You can fill that out and give it to one of the ladies up front. And you each have 3 minutes to speak. And you can write what you would like to speak to. You can speak to an actual item, or you can just speak in general. Thank you. I have no jokes.
Could we move to postpone the election of officers until after this meeting? We don't have a quorum.
All right. Would you please call the meeting to order, Alma? To call the roll call, Alma?
Pastor Wesley, Commissioner May, Judge Harris, David Peden,
Here.
Stephanie White,
Here.
Dr. Smith,
Here.
Ms. Hightower,
Here?
Dr. Northup, Melissa Sidoti,
Here.
Tori Woods.
Present.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we'd like to approve the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. We've already done public comments for this one agenda, and there were no public comments. So now we'll move on to the election of the 2023 board officers.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
After some consideration, I am going to remove my name from consideration as chair. I realized that it was a very difficult decision for the board to have to try to decide between two very qualified people. And I think I would rather keep everybody on the same page and moving forward, and I can still do my job no matter what my position.
Perfect. Thank you, Ms. Hightower. So we have Ms. Woods nominating herself. We need a second for that, and any other nominations?
I second.
Any other any discussion on that? All right, all in favor, any more nominations? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so Ms. Woods is the new chair. Congratulations. And now we need to do a vice chair.
I nominate Ms. Hightower.
I second. Any more discussion on that? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And now we need a treasurer, so I would like to nominate Mr. Peden.
Second?
Any discussion on that?
Are we going to get a new personnel committee chair?
Yes. We'll get a new personnel committee chair.
Not necessarily.
We don't have to, but, all right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So this meeting is adjourned.
Wait, do you have to get the new personnel committee chair?
Do you want to do personnel? You want to move?
I want to say,
All right, I'm going to let you sit in the middle.
and waiting on me? Oh. So I am calling the meeting to order. Oh. Thank you. Ma'am. Am I just reading this? Oh. So, Ms. Alma, can you do roll call again, please?
Pastor Wesley, Commissioner May, Judge Harris, Mr. Peden,
Here.
Ms. White,
Here.
Dr. Smith,
Here.
Ms. Hightower,
Present?
Dr. Northup, Ms. Sidoti,
Here.
And Ms. Woods.
Present. So we also have the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mr. Lumen is not here, so who would like to say the Pledge
I'll
of
do it.
Allegiance? Thank you.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So now we have the approval of the minutes. May I get a
So moved.
second?
Second.
Madam Chair, is that the approval of the agenda or the
Oh,
minutes?
what did I say? I'm sorry. Approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? So no discussion, so we are approving the agenda as it is. Next, we have the minutes.
We need to vote.
This,
We need to vote.
oh, I'm sorry. Did we not vote? So, no discussion. All in favor of approving the agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is approved as is. So now we have the minutes. Are you reading that, or am I reading that? Ma'am? There's two to approve? Okay. So we are approving the regular board meeting minutes. The staff recommends the board approve the minutes from Part 1 of January 10th, 2023, regular board meeting as presented.
Move to adopt.
Any discussion? So all in favor of approving the board minutes from June 10th?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So those are approved. Second is the special board meeting. The staff recommends the board approve the minutes from January 3rd, 2023, special board meeting as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So now we are on to the board reports. Treasurer's report.
So, Mr. Peden, if you want, I'll kick this one up to you.
Please.
We have our reports as listed. The balance sheet is the first report on page 12. You'll see that the balance sheet shows we have retained earnings of $9.4 million, and a net income this year is $6.4 million. The trust has $16.1 million of cash in the bank and prepaid expenses of $57,877. The prepaid items are composed of rent, software, and membership in FACCT. The trust has total liabilities of $325,178. The largest liability is the funding due to the Escambia County tax collector for the collection of the property taxes. That amount is $294,527. And that's a number that will change throughout the year as we book the funding due to the county as a percentage of the property tax collected. So that number will increase as we receive tax payments and decrease as we make payments to the county. So the balance sheet there, as you go down and see that it starts, of course, with the total assets. And when you get to page 13, you'll see the total liabilities there that I referred to earlier, the $325,000. Moving to the budget versus actuals on page 14. With that report, it shows we're running at 7.25% of the budget on expenses and 95.6% on revenue. And you'll see that it shows up on that line that says gross profit near the top in the far right. There are several items of the budget that we will need to adjust on a budget amendment. We significantly under-budgeted for interest and bank fees. We'll need to increase both of those line items. There was an entry of the budget on a monthly basis, so we could show as over budgeted on some items that will work out as the year progresses. You also see that there are no retirement expenses yet. We're still working with Nationwide to get the retirement account established for our employees. We received a revised contract last week that is being reviewed, and will go to our attorneys for legal review. We move to the profit loss by month. You have your budget versus actuals. That follows what we were just looking at, and then you're to the profit and loss on page 16. That shows you a comparison of the revenue and expenses by month. Salaries increased each month as an additional employee was hired at the end of October and one at the end of November. Other travel varies based on if conferences or trainings were attended, which was the case in October and in December. Promotional activities were much higher in October due to trim ads that were run. Capital expenses were due to purchase of 2 additional computer systems. And then if we move to page 18, the profit and loss by class. That's where we have the breakdown between program expenses and administrative expenses. As of December 31st, the trust had 17% program expenses and 83% administrative. And that takes us through our financial report. You will see that if you do want the item by item, we do have the general ledger that starts on page 20. All right, Madam Chair, that completes the financial report.
Thank you. So now we are moving on to, correct? Yes, public comments. So we have no business. Under business, we have none. So now we just go to public comment under programs. So do we have any public comment for programs? Any forms turned in? So for programs, I know we have the breakdown of what the grants committee proposed. As far as the board, did you guys want to discuss each individual one? Or did you want to, me to just recommend? Because I know last time there were questions. We did have a 4-hour-long meeting and interviewed and talked about each grant in addition to the other 3 meetings that we had to address questions that we had from the first meeting. So would you guys like to go through each individual one, or did you want me to just make the recommendation?
The recommendation's on the agenda, so I would move to approve the recommendation of the Grants Committee.
I'll second that.
Resolution 2023-01.
I'll second that.
So I would just read the recommendation. The Grants Committee recommends the board approve the resolution 2023-01, authorizing the executive director to enter into an agreement with the name providers for a total of $5,104,482 to provide out-of-school time programming.
Madam Chair, I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
As we move forward, I know that the staff will be creating the metrics that we will be, so kind of next month, could we have a presentation on how we're going to look at those grants? Like the starting number of students there or children that they're serving and what they're projected to be able to be at the end of the first year, or second year, third year, those kind of things. So we have an idea of what's been communicated with them on their metrics.
Yes, absolutely, and I'm glad you raised that. They have this in their packet, right, Alma? Okay, so just want to make sure before I pull it out. If you look at the attachment that was in your packet, and all of this information is going to be available on our website, along with some other maps that show the concentration of families with children under 18 and where the communities in the highest poverty levels are. You'll be able to see all those maps on our website. But if you look at the packet that we gave you, and they're color-coded because we love to color-code things. The ones that are in green are year-round programs. After school are in blue, weekend programs are in red, and summer programs are in purple. But if you look at the little boxes, it'll tell you the total number of children served and the ages served. And then the map on the cover shows you the distribution of sites of all of the proposed programs. So that gives you the basic numbers, and then what we're doing in the contracts is they're going to have an attachment to their contract. They're going to have their scope of work and their budget as attachments to the contract, but then they're also going to have their deliverables, their proposed outcomes attached to their contract. So we're going to work with each provider to make sure that they have all of those indicators as part of their contract so that they understand that that's what we're going to hold them accountable to. So that will be very easy to get you a report on that. That was a very long answer to say yes. So.
Madam Chair, I want a follow-up question.
Yes, ma'am.
So when we look at like I'm looking at the Central Gulf Coast Freedom Schools, and it says over a 3-year period, 500. That's not where they are today. I mean, I've been to their program, and I know they don't have 500 students, and they tend to have different students each year. So I guess my question is, these are additional services that will be provided rather than things that are already in place. I want to make sure the public understands that we're funding things that are additional services as opposed to the status quo.
Yes, exactly. These are new students that will be brought into the system as a result of the funding.
Yes, because, the statute specifically says that we cannot supplant or, existing. It's got to be on new things, so. My discussion is just to thank the Grants Committee for all their hard work. I know we sent them back, and that was not probably what they wanted to hear. So I appreciate them, and Tori and Melissa especially, and all the other people who have full-time jobs to doing this. So I know it was hard, but hopefully it was useful. So thank you.
I would also like to thank our child that was there for the 4 hours. I had plenty of people tell me how they were amazed at him being able to sit there, and I appreciate you, sacrificing that time to be with us, so thank you so much.
Madam Chair, or perhaps Ms. Greer, this question might be more directed towards you. Just so that the public understands, we have a listing of the grants with the amount at its side of what the grant will be given on that summary page. That is the annual amount given, and each of these is for 3 years. Am I correct?
Yes, you're correct.
Okay.
So what will happen is their contract will be for 1 year, renewable for up to 2 additional years, and each year they will have to submit a new budget. And that will give us some history so that we will see how much they have spent over the year. And then if there's something that they need to add or something that they don't need the second year, it will change from year to year.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more discussion? Am I just calling to vote? Is that what we're doing? So all in favor of approving the recommendation?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So we have approved our first grant, our first large grant, I guess I should say. Ms. Tammy, the Executive Director's report, please.
I don't know how long I have to do this before I figure out how to get out. So, it's not showing up there. Let me see. There we go, okay. All right. So first thing I wanted to cover, as usual, are the recent highlights, some of the things that we have been working on in the last month. So I'm pleased to say that the Board of County Commissioners did forward a roster of 6 names to the Gubernatorial Appointments Office for consideration. The word that we have received from the folks at FACT, the Florida Alliance of Children's Councils and Trusts, is that they are very, very far behind. They have even, the governor's office has asked that anyone who submitted their application prior to 2021 resubmit their application, so they're at least 2 years behind on making these appointments. They have vowed to move things a little more quickly now, but that does not give me much hope that we will get somebody within the next couple of weeks. So with that said, I just wanted to let you all know that according to the coordinator of the Gubernatorial Appointments Office, the members who are on the board, who have already been appointed, they remain on the board until they either resign, are reappointed, or are replaced. So just wanted to clarify that for the record. Our audit report for 21-22 has been received, and we are going to, now that we have a new treasurer, we're going to call a finance and budget committee meeting so that they can present, and if the board desires, we can also ask the auditors to present the full audit to the entire board. And you'll also be invited, anyone can of course attend the budget and finance committee meeting. So we're very happy to say that we got that done. And the only comments that they had were with regard to some policy changes that we had made. So I'm very pleased for a first year report that, you know, everything came out really, really well. The Family Resource Guide is on track for publication in April. And we have heard from a couple of other agencies in town that they were also considering resource guides. So we have been working with them to make sure that there's no duplication of effort. And we have asked several agencies to put ads in there so that the community is aware of all of the services that are available. We also issued the strategic planning ITB that the board approved last month. The deadline for submissions is February 24th, so you will see those results at your March meeting so that you can vote on who you want to accept. And then we are working very diligently on our next ITB, which is the next item that I will discuss. And then we also have a solicitation out for our, well, it's the next solicitation on our current strategic plan, which is the ITB for the Help Me Grow. So, which is easier to talk about if I actually just show you the slide. So Help Me Grow, for those who aren't familiar with it, this is the comprehensive coordinated system of supports to connect children and families to child development and health services, virtual resources for children birth to 8, and family education and engagement. This is the comprehensive system of care that was on our current strategic plan, so it is the next solicitation that we have on our to-do list. Help Me Grow is a national model, so that's why you have the registered trademark up there, and it is very successful. For every dollar that's invested in the Help Me Grow model, there's a return on the investment of approximately $7.62, which doesn't sound very approximate, but that is what the studies have shown. So we're really excited to bring this to Escambia County. There was discussion as far back as, I think, 2017. Folks tried to pull this together in Escambia County, but there was no funding for it. So we have lots of excitement that's been generated amongst the providers to know that this is a possibility now and that there is funding available to do this. So we are meeting with the local providers and parents to develop our scope of services because it will be an invitation to bid, not an RFP. So we will be presenting to the community, here's what the model looks like, and then getting bids for programs to implement it with fidelity to the established evidence-based best practice program. So the other piece of that is that we are hoping to include funding for some of the services, but we're looking at exactly what that would look like. So we're meeting with some of the healthcare providers in this coming week. So we're pulling that all together. I say all that to say if you have input on this and there's something that you want to see included or something that you don't want to see included, please give us your feedback because we want to make sure that we get this as close to right as possible. So this is a little bit difficult to see, but it's in your packets and and it's online. This is from a study that was done on the Help Me Grow model and on the importance of early interventions. And out of this study, with the findings that they released, these are the three different areas where you stand to make the most impact. Excuse me. And then of the different things that they recommended, the ones with the little hearts beside them, because it is Valentine's Day, the ones with the little hearts beside them are the ones that we're trying to incorporate into our model specifically. And it's most of the things that they recommended. But I did want to share that with you so that you can get a sense for what all this includes, because it's a really, really important program that we're bringing to the county. And this will help with everything from academic to social and emotional development for these children. So next coming up for us, we are also working on putting together a children's summit. We're shooting for June for that. We're looking at targeting, or I shouldn't say targeting, inviting approximately 200 participants. We have a planning committee that we're going to be pulling together, and I have to thank Ms. Hightower because she has volunteered to be our board representative on the planning committee. You're certainly all welcome, so let us know if you'd like to participate in that. The next solicitation after the Help Me Grow ITB will be coming in April or May. That is a mental health services RFP. So we've already started talking with some of the providers and the folks in the community about what that needs to look like. We understand that there are millions of dollars coming into the community for mental health already, so we want to be very intentional about what we propose to fund, and if there is a way that we can use our dollars to match and help leverage some of the other dollars that are available, for example, the DCF RFP that was released yesterday, then we want to look at how that would work, because whatever we can do with our funding to help bring in additional dollars from the state or the federal government, we certainly want to do. And we all know that mental health is a huge issue right now. I saw the story just yesterday about all the fights in the schools, so we want to try to do whatever we can to help the children who are struggling with mental health and behavioral health issues. So that's next up after the Help Me Grow. So the other thing that we're looking at is office space. We have a fabulous deal right now to have our offices on the campus of Pensacola State College, but we are absolutely maxed out. And I'm sure everyone has noticed that we have our meetings at all kinds of different places. We had to use a classroom for the grants committee meetings. We struggle with technology issues because we never know what kind of setup we're going to get or how the Wi-Fi is going to be. So we really would like to find some dedicated space for the Children's Trust so that we don't use up a lot of staff time trying to find a location, because we're going to have some trainings that we're going to need to do now that we have some funded providers. We're going to continue to have committee meetings to engage the board and other community members. So we really are looking for some dedicated space. Perhaps if we find a space that's big enough, we could even co-locate with other organizations. We are certainly mindful of the fact that we are using public dollars, so we're not looking at fancy, elaborate space, but we do want to get something that will work for us and for the board so that we have a place to call home. So once we identify at least 3 viable options. We will bring that to the Finance Committee as well, so that you all can vet that. The other thing that I've been working on is the early childhood education. Scholarships and recruitment are big issues right now. It's no secret that there is a huge problem trying to find enough educators to fill the classrooms. I know 2 of our board members are acutely aware of this issue with recruitment and retention as well. We know that there are waiting lists for children to be able to get into early childhood education, child development centers, childcare, if you will. The problem is not that there isn't enough money to fund the vouchers to pay for the children to go. They're on those wait lists because there aren't enough teachers in those early childhood education classrooms to meet the ratios to be able to accept more children. So our problem, if we want to put money to something, is not to fund the children to go there. The Early Learning Coalition has ample money at this point, especially with some of the federal funds that have come down. The issue is getting the teachers in the classroom. And if you want high quality programs, you have to have well-trained folks in front of the classroom. Because these early childhood development programs, they're not just babysitting. If we're gonna speak to quality, if we want them ready for kindergarten, which is the goal, kindergarten readiness, we need qualified individuals who see themselves as professionals, not babysitters. So this all goes back to early childhood education. So we've been working with Cindy Kirk at the State College because she runs the early childhood education program there. We've also been working with faculty at the University of West Florida because they do the education piece for the K through 12 system, and they have the bachelor's and the master's programs. And so we're looking at that whole career path so that someone could come in, start working, get their child development associate certificate, then work into the associate's degree program, and then if they want to stay in education, they could go through the bachelor's and then on through the master's. So we're hitting the early childhood system and the K through 12 system kind of all together. So we looked at what are the barriers to getting into and through those programs. What we learned is that for the entry level, for the early childhood education folks, the numbers of enrollments continue to go down every semester. It's not happening in other communities. So I asked Cindy Kirk, who runs the program at Pensacola State College, what do you need? What could we as the trust do to help you? And she said, well, we would really love to be able to get the full program online, because at every other state college that offers the early childhood education curriculum, you can get the whole thing online. So I sent, you know, brevity is not my strong suit. So I sent a long email to Dr. Meadows and to several persons in leadership at the state college and said, if you will let us know what you need to get these courses online, and I sent a list of all of the other programs that are online, and I said, if you'll let us know what you need, I will take that to the Children's Trust Board for consideration. Because if it is just as simple as us funding a faculty member or an adjunct to take the curriculum and just put it online, I think that is worth a shot to get that worked out. So they're putting together some numbers, so I hope to bring that to you in March as well. But I just wanted to plant the seed and let you know, in case you hear rumblings, that I'm out in the community working with them. That's the goal. We also talked about scholarships. Right now, for you to get a scholarship to go into this, you have to be working 20 hours a week in early childhood education. Well, if you're working and you have children yourself, you can't go to the programs that are offered during the daytime, and you're probably too tired to go at night in person on the Pensacola campus. So we're looking for some different scholarships for people who aren't already working, who may be coming out of the academies with the K through 12 system. So we're looking at some creative ways. So I'm also meeting with the folks at the foundation, and we've pulled Bruce Watson from the Early Learning Coalition in, so we're having lots of conversations around that. I say all that to say I will be bringing something back to you, but I wanted to give you some context. And if you have some feedback or something that you think I need to know on this, please, please, please just give me a call and let's talk about it, because that is something that I feel very passionately about. And we've got to do something with the kindergarten readiness. So it's taken a while to figure out maybe where we could maneuver, but I think we're getting close. The other thing that we're working on is capacity building. So when I first started a year ago, I came out, guns a-blazing, we need to do something around capacity building, and I didn't really know what that should or could look like. So in the last year, I have been working with Laura at United Way and with Andrea at the State College. They have both put together some great capacity building initiatives, and instead of us reinventing the wheel, I'm working with the two of them to figure out what's available, what's not available, what the needs of the community are, and where that gap is that we could address. The reason that this is suddenly very important is because as we went through this RFP process and we started to receive proposals in bulk, we realized that there is a huge gap in the quality of the proposals that we're receiving. And I don't think that that is an indication of the intelligence of the individuals who are submitting it. It's just a different skill set to be able to apply. We also have to be mindful of giving hundreds of thousands of dollars to organizations that are not ready, that do not have the internal infrastructure and capacity to be able to handle these dollars and to account for them the way that we need it, because we're not a foundation, as I keep saying, we're a government entity. The accountability is far higher. The requirements are much greater for our funding. So we need to be able to work with these agencies. We also want to keep our staff and our overhead as low as we can, so we have to find that balancing. We have to do that balancing act. So that is why I'm working with the State College and with United Way, because again, if there's already a perfectly good wheel, why reinvent it? So we're working with them, and I will be bringing back a proposal to let you know what we've come up with. The other thing that we're working on, and we're going to have to really ramp this up, so we're trying to figure out internally how to do this with our current staff. We've got to increase our communications and have a good parent outreach and communications plan in place. Something that I really love that other children's services councils and trusts do, they have regular newsletters that go out to parents. They have all kinds of initiatives to try to get parents to sign up. Some of them have regular texting programs that they push out with hints and ideas and events, and just making parents aware of what's going on in the community and different resources that are available to them. Once we get the resource guide out, it'll be great to have some kind of companion initiative to help with the communications. Today, I'm going to be releasing a press release because I think it's very exciting what you guys just did. We're funding $5 million in out-of-school time programs. This is amazing. So I just wanted to let you know that we are working on, we're aware that we need to be better about pushing out communications and newsletters, so we're on that. And then, last but not least, we are, once the ITB goes through and you all approve a consultant or a contractor to work on our strategic plan, two of the things that I would really, really like for us to consider, and just wanted to let you know that it's on our radar because we have been having conversations about this as well. I really would like to see us put the grade level reading campaign back in place. There are lots of organizations that I'm finding are giving thousands of books to children all throughout our community, which is wonderful. But if they don't know what to do with the books, or the parents can't read the books, or the parents aren't reading the books with them or to them, then we're giving them a tool that they don't know how to use. So we really need to do something around grade level reading campaign and pushing out resources to get the children engaged and to be able to read the books that we're giving them. The other thing that we're looking at is the Family Resource Center model, which is considered place-based programming. And we're just barely touching that, but we have started meeting with some of our sister programs to find out how they've done their family resource centers, their neighborhood centers. And there's lots of conversation about where something could go and where we could pilot something. In a nutshell, a family resource center is basically where you look at the needs of a smaller segment of the community and you put a literal center there, and then you have whatever services that community needs, whether it's legal services, someone to help them with applying for SNAP benefits, tutoring for their children, GED programs for the parents. It could be anything. And you put the menu of services, if you will, based on what that community needs, all in one place. And typically you have several funders who put resources into it. So we're looking at that. So I just wanted to also let you know that that's on the radar. And so you'll hear me make a passionate plea for place-based funding when we get to next year's strategic plan. So that concludes my report. I tried to do it as quickly as I could because I know everybody's really busy. And thank you so much for all of your support and for your feedback and for just being a terrific board. Like I said, when I came in, today's my 1-year anniversary, and I think we've come a really long way. And how very cool that 1 year to the day we're putting $5 million out into the community for out-of-school time programs. I could not be happier. And please do not lose sight of the great work that you all do, because none of this would happen without a great board and without your support. So with that, I will say thank you and have an awesome day. And happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you, Tammy. Legal report? Don't have anything? Do we have any public comment on non-agenda items? No public comment. Do we have any board comment?
I do. I just want to thank you, Stephanie, for your time as chair of doing it 2 years, getting this organization off the ground. We've all been through the bumps in the road and through the processes, but being the chair and being the face of the organization, dealing with the media and everything you've dealt with, and plus your day job and you're dealing with your young kids and family. So thank you very much.
I just want to echo that sentiment and tell you how much I appreciate you, having known you as long as I have. And to know that you're still going to be the voice of reason here.
Yeah, I too would like to echo that. I think you've done a terrific job. You've been a trailblazer. The past year, I think it's ironic that today is the 1-year anniversary of our executive director. And, at times we hear we're going too slow or we're going too fast, all in the same time. And the truth of the matter is, it was all new, and it's setting foundation for the future. And I think you did a terrific job, Ms. White, on leading us through those uncharted waters. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Well, I'm looking forward to Chair Woods taking over. Excited to see that and excited to stay on the board. So thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. I do appreciate you. I mean, it wasn't easy. It was new, so good luck and less stress, maybe.
And honestly, Tori's work on the grants committee, we would have never gotten through it without her leadership. So I know it's going to be fabulous when she is leading us.
Thank you. Any other?
I've got one more.
Yes.
Go ahead, Doctor.
Well, Dave, I was just going to echo everyone's comments here of looking at our past, and thank you, Stephanie, for your leadership and willingness to step into an extraordinarily challenging role, a very new, unprecedented role to serve, and it was just you did an impeccable job with it, and I thank you. I'm proud to have had the privilege of serving on this board with you and the other members here. My apologies to all of you all for being late with our new time here, and I'm looking forward in the future with whatever role, being one of those potential gubernatorial either reappointments or not, although I hear some of the people that are being considered for my spot, I have full confidence in will do an extraordinary job as well. Tori and others, I look forward to continuing to work with you all and adding whatever support I may to you all as you all continue the work of this board, which I think is just a extraordinary opportunity that we have. I'm going to take just a couple of minutes longer and reflect here. I was born here in Pensacola. I did my pediatric training in 37 years of work here, and this opportunity to finally bring some resources to the care of our children and our community is something that is just an extraordinary opportunity that we worked for years and years under the leadership of gentlemen like Reed Bell, John Whitcomb, and others in the community to get to where we are now. Stephanie, you've done a stellar job in positioning this organization in the position that it is in to now go forward and begin to meet some of those challenges and to bring some additional resources to those opportunities to benefit our kids. I have full confidence in all that Tori, you all will do a stellar job with this, and as I say, I look forward to it, and thank you again, Stephanie.
So also I want to thank Stephanie, but also Dr. Smith for the financials because, wow. Thank you so much for that because I am not an accountant.
Madam Chair, also, I got two more things, but first, thank you and Melissa for the Grants Committee work. That was a lot of time, and having seen the process that you went through made it easy to vote on that today because I know it was properly vetted, and I appreciate that very much. Tammy, the Pensacola State College thing you talked about, we need to be careful that the college is funded by the state, and if we're funding the college, that doesn't make sense to me right now. But they do have a foundation, and I'm sure they have restricted funds that are donated and unrestricted funds. That's what foundations are for. Why can't the foundation fund the online program? Just moving forward, I do have pause right now about that, and so I just want to tell you that before we go down that road and you spend a lot of time on it. But the State College is there to be a source for the community, and if that's a need, I think the college needs to handle that for the community and not us funding it. So that's my opinion, but just moving forward, keep that in mind. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may. Ms. Greer, I want to thank you for the many points that you've made about early education. And one of the things, if you all will indulge me, is I want to take just a moment on talking about some priority areas that I think are needed, and specifically in our community and through the school district, which is the hat I wear. But I think you'll see some of the things that have taken place will impact these key ideas. So when we look at some of the difficulties students from high needs families deal with, kindergarten readiness is one that jumps right off the page for us. So I really think we're at a time where we need to come together as a community and develop a system because we've got different entities doing different things. And so all those entities are important and they make a difference, but are we missing some children who are really in high need situations? So it begs the question, can all these groups come together and have one overarching system and then move forward accordingly? So that then would set, if we can have strong programs for 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds that go across our community, that has strong, robust training, the potential here is tremendous. So that's one area I wanted to just share that could have a big impact on our community. Another one is for us, now this is school district, but it paints a picture here, is we need extra expert teachers in reading and in math. So our first and second graders, as soon as we flag that there's an issue there, a problem, we can aggressively intervene and get our kids up to grade level and on par as they move through their elementary years. And then we look at interventions. A lot of what we need to do, you think about this, if you have a student who, let's say, is not kindergarten ready, okay, and you have a student who is, so they're at these different academic progression levels. So what we need to do to pull this student up is to provide more time, more skill development, and so having extended time, extra time is very important. What just happened this morning was pretty focused on extra time for our young people, for our kids, in a variety of programs, but where learning, where support, where growth will take place. So I think that's really neat to see how the interaction takes place and how the Children's Trust is making a difference in the community. Another area for us is accelerated learning, and that gets into educational ease very quickly, so I'll move through that one fast. But the other is student accountability and planning. And so some of the thoughts there are what a difference it would be if we were able to provide a guidance counselor, an extra high needs guidance counselor in 6th grade, where that guidance counselor could focus on 50 students who are struggling the most or in the highest need situation the most. Can you imagine if that counselor sticks with those 50 kids for the next 3 years in middle school? Difference maker. We have one in 7th grade, one in 8th grade, one in 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. So we're constantly supporting, encouraging, and holding kids accountable. If you don't have your homework in, we need you to get it in. We need you to work to where you're mastering these classes and so forth. So now that's a lot of resource. So the dollars run up quickly, but just wanted to share that with you because I really think the trust has already shown with this new grant process that providing that extra time for kids is a good thing, and it's a helpful thing in this big picture where we want our kids, as soon as they're 18, to be strong, ready, prepared to go make a difference in the world. So thank you for indulging me for that. I'm really excited about what happened today.
Any other board comments?
I had one other consideration for the board as Tammy went through things out into 22-23 strategic planning and things, reflecting back again on some of my mentoring. One of the things in particular, Dr. Reed Bell specifically, was just really, truly passionate about. And Judge Danheiser came before this board several months ago and made a comment as well from his perspective of being on the bench is a meaningful, and I don't know the answer to this one at all, so don't get me wrong, but a meaningful fatherhood initiative. And of these various things that we're talking about, of having a meaningful way to increase and improve involvement of fathers in these various programs, from education, psychosocial, health issues, I mean, just on and on and on, that the presence of a dad in that thing. I'm reminded of one of the commercials on TV for one of our local law firms that says the best parent is both parents. in ways, and as I say, I'm not going to begin to come up with the answer to that, only to say that I think it impacts essentially every issue that we touch on as this board.
Dr. Smith, I see your mic was still on. I didn't
Oh,
see. So any other board comment? Seeing none, we are adjourning the meeting at 10:02. Thank you. I'm sorry, I need a motion, I guess, to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.